next Tinder meetup, I'm picking the place.
After a year of nursing a broken heart, Ethan was finally ready to put himself out there again. His first relationship had ended badly, leaving him wary of commitment. But at 22, he couldn't stay holed up in his room forever. Dating apps seemed like a low-pressure way to ease back into the scene. OkCupid, with its quirky profiles and detailed bios, felt like a good fit. That's where he found Maya. Her profile was a breath of fresh air, indie music, late-night diner runs, and a passion for weird, artsy films. Her photos showed a light-skinned black girl with a radiant smile, and their chats flowed effortlessly. After a week of texting, they planned a date. Ethan would pick her up at her place on the west side of town for dinner. His palms were sweaty as he drove to Maya's house, a mix of excitement and nerves churning in his stomach. He hadn't been on a date in over a year, and the thought of meeting someone new both thrilled and terrified him. The west side of town was unfamiliar to Ethan, a maze of narrow streets and aging homes. As he pulled up to Maya's address at 6:30 p.m., the sun had just dipped below the horizon, casting the street in a dim, orange glow. The houses here were small and weathered, their paint chipped and porches sagging. Maya's place was a two-story with faded blue siding and an overgrown lawn. Ethan parked his beat-up sedan and texted her, "Hey, I'm here." He stared at his phone, waiting for a response. Minutes ticked by, and his excitement began to wane. Finally, the typing dots appeared, and her message came through. "Hey, sorry about that. My brother's gonna meet you outside. He's being really annoying and protective." Ethan groaned inwardly. Meeting family on a first date? That's a red flag. He texted back, half joking about the awkwardness, but she just replied, "Sorry, he's forcing me." The front door swung open, and a tall figure stepped out, heading straight for Ethan's car. Ethan climbed out to meet him, and his stomach did a flip. The guy towered over him, 6'3" at least, with skin so dark it didn't match Maya's lighter tone. They didn't even look related. "Hey, I'm Marcus," he said, extending a hand. His grip was firm, almost painfully so, like he was testing Ethan's strength. "Maya's brother. Just want to make sure you're a stand-up guy." His tone was casual, almost warm, but his eyes were hard, assessing. Ethan forced a smile, trying to ignore the unease creeping up his spine. Marcus nodded toward the house. "Come inside. Meet Maya." Ethan hesitated, glancing back at his car, his escape route, but he followed anyway, stepping into the stale, musty air of the living room. The door clicked shut behind him, and the sound echoed ominously. "Wait here," Marcus said, pointing to a spot near the couch before heading upstairs. His boots thudded heavily on the steps, each one making Ethan's heart beat faster. As he waited, Ethan scanned the room. That's when he saw them. Two men sitting on a worn-out couch, staring at him with cold, unblinking eyes. One was skinny, a snake tattoo curling up his neck. The other was built like a linebacker, arms folded tight across his chest. Ethan swallowed hard and forced a weak, "What's up?" The skinny one gave a faint nod, the other didn't move a muscle. From upstairs, Marcus shouted, "Maya's coming!" But his voice sounded off, rehearsed. Ethan's pulse kicked up a notch. He shifted uneasily, his eyes darting to the dining room, and froze. Another man sat at the table, older, with a shaved head and a jagged scar over his left eye. He was watching Ethan like a hawk eyeing its prey. Every instinct screamed at Ethan to run. He took a step back, his hand brushing the doorknob. "Grab him!" the linebacker bellowed, and all three men lunged toward him. Ethan yanked the door open and bolted for his car, their footsteps thundering behind him. As he sprinted, the cold night air bit at his face, and he could hear the men shouting curses. His heart pounded in his ears, drowning out everything else. He dove into the driver's seat, fumbling with the keys as fists pounded against the windows, the glass shuddering under the blows. With a roar, the engine came to life, and Ethan floored the gas, tires screeching as he peeled away. In the rearview mirror, he saw the men standing in the street, fists clenched, their faces twisted with rage. Ethan didn't stop driving until he was back in his own neighborhood, his hands still shaking on the wheel. He burst through the front door, still catching his breath as he spilled the story to his parents. They exchanged worried looks. "Are you sure?" his mom asked, her brow furrowed. But Ethan was adamant, his voice trembling with adrenaline. They urged him to call the police, so he did. An officer took his statement, and later that night, they arrested 3 of the 4 men, including Marcus. The 4th had vanished into the night. A neighbor had seen the whole thing, the men attacking Ethan's car, and backed him up anonymously. Maya's profile disappeared from OkCupid the next day, and Ethan never heard from her again. He couldn't shake the thought. Did she even exist? Maybe she was just bait, a pretty face to lure him into a trap. He kept using dating apps, but after that night, he triple-checked every plan, every vibe. Some lessons he learned come at a cost. Alex had been single for nearly a year after his breakup with his first girlfriend. At 22, he was ready to dip his toes back into the dating pool, but nothing serious, just something casual to break the monotony. He'd tried a few apps, but Match.com was his go-to. After a couple of lackluster meetups, he matched with Kylie, a girl whose shy smile and bio about indie music and late-night vibes caught his eye. Their chats were decent, not electric, but enough to spark his curiosity. When he suggested she come over to his apartment for a chill night, she agreed instantly. Alex lived in a small 2-story place with paper-thin walls that carried every sound. He tidied up his room, threw some extra blankets on the couch as a precaution, and waited. Kylie showed up around 8 p.m., her knock faint and hesitant. She stood in the doorway, bundled in a faded denim jacket over a black hoodie, hands stuffed in her pockets. Her pale blue-gray eyes flicked around the room, barely meeting his. "Hey," she mumbled, stepping inside. Alex forced a grin. "Hey, good to see you. Want a drink or something?" They settled in his upstairs bedroom, the TV humming with a sitcom neither cared about. Conversation limped along, small talk about music and shows. Alex rambled about loving The National, and Kylie nodded, muttering she liked their old stuff. When he asked about her interests, she shrugged, staring at the screen. The sitcom's canned laughter filled the gaps, but the silences between them grew heavy. Alex squirmed, debating whether to suggest a game or just let the awkwardness ride. Hours dragged on, and Kylie's energy faded. Her face went blank, her replies slower, her gaze drifting to the wall. Then, out of nowhere, she murmured, "Thanks for letting me sleep over." Alex blinked, caught off guard. Sleep over? I just meant hang out for the night." He trailed off, unsure how to backtrack without sounding like a jerk. She stared expectantly, so he sighed, grabbed some blankets and a pillow from the closet, and tossed them on the floor. She thanked him quietly, curled up facing away, and that was it. Alex killed the TV, plunging the room into silence. Lying in bed, he stared at the ceiling, her steady breathing below him. Something felt wrong, her vibe, the whole night. Maybe she's just shy, he thought, but he couldn't shake the regret of not meeting her somewhere public first. Sleep finally took him. At 2 a.m., he snapped awake, heart pounding. He squinted in the dark. Her spot on the floor was empty, blankets tangled. He flipped on the lamp, scanning the room. Nothing. Then, a faint murmur drifted up from downstairs. Those thin walls betrayed every sound. He crept to the stairwell, listening. Low, hushed words, too soft to catch. On the phone? He tiptoed down, peering into the kitchen. It was dim, lit only by a sliver of streetlight through the window. Kylie sat in a wooden chair, back to him, shoulders slumped, whispering to herself. "Kylie?" His voice cracked. She turned slowly, her glassy eyes locking onto his for a beat before she faced the wall again, still muttering. Panic surged. He bolted upstairs, snatched his phone, and dialed his dad. 3 rings later, a groggy "hello" came through. "Dad, there's this girl from online here. She's in my kitchen, talking to herself like she's lost it," Alex hissed. His dad, half asleep, mumbled, "What? Is she okay?" Before Alex could answer, he glanced up. Kylie's silhouette filled the doorway. "Dad," he choked, but she lunged, screaming, hands clawing at his throat. Her nails bit into his skin as he gasped, vision spotting. He grabbed her wrists, adrenaline kicking in, and flipped her onto the bed, pinning her down. She thrashed, eyes wild, shrieking nonsense. "Call the cops," he yelled into the phone. His dad's voice faded as Alex wrestled her downstairs. The police arrived fast, yanking her off him and cuffing her as she rambled. Alex slumped against the wall, trembling. Later, on the phone, his dad asked, "You okay, son?" "That's insane." "Yeah," Alex panted. "Just freaked. No more strangers here, ever." Days later, the night replayed in his head. Her vacant stare, that sudden attack. He dodged something dark, and it stuck with him. From now on, first dates were public only, no exceptions. Elliot had been single for nearly a year after a messy breakup at 22. The solitude was strange at first, but he'd grown accustomed to it, filling his evenings with vinyl records and late-night hikes. Eventually, though, the itch to meet someone new crept in. Face-to-face dating felt daunting, so he turned to apps instead. He downloaded Tinder, drawn by its casual vibe. After a week of swiping, he matched with a girl named Sasha. Her profile showed a bright smile, dark hair, and a love for hiking and indie music. Things Elliot vibed with. They chatted for days, her witty replies keeping him hooked. Feeling a spark, he suggested she come over to his place to chill and listen to records. She agreed, saying she'd be there by 7 p.m. That evening, Elliot tidied his cramped apartment, wiping down the dusty coffee table and setting out a few vinyls he thought she'd like, a mix of lo-fi beats and obscure bands. He even splurged on a rare record, imagining her smile when she saw it. As 7 p.m. approached, he kept checking his phone, pacing between the couch and the window. By 7:15, she hadn't shown. He texted her through Tinder. "Hey, you close?" No reply. At 7:30, he sent another. "Everything cool?" Still nothing. He peered out at the empty street, the sodium glow of streetlights mocking his hope. Disappointment settled in, heavy and bitter, and by 8 o'clock, he gave up, figuring she'd flaked. Exhausted from the anticipation, he crashed on his bed and drifted off. Around 2 a.m., a faint vibration woke him. His phone, still on the nightstand, buzzed insistently. Bleary-eyed, he grabbed it and saw a flood of Tinder messages from Sasha. His stomach dropped as he scrolled through them. "I'm here now. 1:45 a.m. You look peaceful when you sleep. 1:50 a.m. I'm closer than you think. 1:55 a.m. Look behind you. 2 a.m. His heart pounded. He whipped around, scanning the dark room. Nothing. The window was shut, the curtains still, but the messages kept coming. Another buzz. "Why aren't you answering?" He leapt up, flipping on the light. The room was empty, but a chill ran through him, prickling his skin. He tried to call a friend, muttering, "This isn't happening." But his phone froze, the screen glitching before going black. Panic set in, sharp and suffocating. Elliot grabbed a baseball bat from under his bed and crept to the door. He peeked into the hallway. Empty, silent. The apartment felt too quiet, the air thick with an unnatural weight. Then he heard it. A soft creak from the living room. His grip tightened on the bat as he edged forward, breath shallow. The room was dark, but the streetlight outside cast faint shadows. One of them moved, a silhouette near the couch. It was tall, humanoid, unnervingly still, watching. "Sasha?" he croaked, voice shaking. No response. The figure shifted slightly, and he caught a glint, eyes reflecting the dim light, cold and unblinking. Adrenaline surged. He bolted back to his room, slamming the door and shoving a chair against it. His hands trembled as he fumbled with his dead phone, willing it to turn on. The buzzing started again, impossibly, from the lifeless device. "You can't hide!" A knock rattled the door, slow, deliberate. Elliot's breath hitched. He scanned the room, mind racing. The window. It was his only shot. He yanked it open, cold air rushing in, biting his skin, and climbed onto the fire escape. The metal clanged under his feet as he descended, heart hammering, not daring to look back. He hit the ground and sprinted to the all-night diner 2 blocks away, bursting through the door, panting. The waitress, a gruff older woman named Marge, eyed him warily, her apron stained with coffee. "You okay, kid?" He spilled the story between gasps, showing her the dead phone that somehow still vibrated with unread messages. She frowned but called the cops, muttering about weirdos these days. When they arrived, they searched his apartment. No sign of Sasha or anyone else. Just an open window and a single Polaroid on the coffee table. A blurry shot of Elliot sleeping, taken from above his bed. The police couldn't trace the Tinder account. It had been deleted. They figured someone had messed with him, maybe hacked his phone. Elliot didn't care for theories. He trashed his Tinder account that night, swearing off dating apps for good. Weeks later, as he packed to move, he found a crumpled note in his jacket pocket. "See you soon. S." He froze, scanning the empty apartment, half expecting her shadow in the corner. But it was just him, the silence, and the lingering dread that he'd never truly escaped that night.